Dawn, July 12, 2008, South Jakarta. Road workers noticed 2 bags dumped by the roadside near Ragunan Zoo. They open the first one. Inside are 7 pieces of a human body. The skull has been split open. A 51-centimeter iron bar is still lodged in the head. The victim is quickly identified. 40-year-old sales manager Harry Santoso, missing for 2 days. At this moment, police think they are dealing with a single brutal murder. 9 days later, investigators will dig up the backyard of a quiet family home in the village of Jatirwates. Buried under the soil of an old fish pond and beneath bamboo trees, they will find 10 more bodies, among them a 3-year-old girl with her skull smashed in. The man responsible shows no real remorse. He sings pop songs for guards and reporters from his death row cell. He writes a tell-all autobiography and plans a pop album called My Last Performance. And in every courtroom appearance, he smiles into the cameras. His name is very Idham Henyansyah, better known across Indonesia as Ryan from Jombang, the singing serial killer. February 1st, 1978. The village of Jatirwates, Tembalang district, Jombang East Java. This is where very Idham Henyansyah is born into what appears to be a modest, ordinary family. Behind closed doors, his childhood is marked by violence and emotional neglect. His mother, Kasiatun, regularly beats him. For much of his early life, he is sent away to live in boarding facilities, physically separated from his parents for long stretches. He grows up feeling unwanted and unloved, especially by his mother. When he's around 5 years old, something happens that will scar him permanently. He walks in on his mother having an affair with an older man inside their own home. He sees them together multiple times, even in the bathroom. The betrayal deepens when his mother forces his older sister to marry this same lover. For a young child, this twisted situation plants the seeds of lifelong rage and confusion. This trauma becomes the root of his profound hatred toward women. It also begins to distort his understanding of relationships, loyalty, and intimacy. By the age of 10, Ryan starts exhibiting clear signs of psychological disturbance. He becomes aggressive and volatile, throwing objects during outbursts and lashing out at anyone nearby. He withdraws more and more into himself, spending hours locked in his room, isolated and brooding. During his teenage years, Ryan undergoes a visible transformation. At school, he gravitates toward activities typically associated with girls: dancing, singing, wearing makeup. He spends most of his time with female classmates and participates in every school dance event. To outsiders, he seems vibrant and social. But beneath this colorful exterior, something dark is building. The breaking point comes while Ryan is still in high school. In one particularly violent episode, he grabs a kitchen knife and chases his own mother through the house, fully intending to kill her. She barely escapes with her life. After the incident, Ryan is admitted to Gatowel Hospital in Mojokerto, where he stays for approximately 2 weeks. Doctors diagnose him with severe stress and aggressive behavioral disorder. When he returns home, his mother notices that his feminine aura has only intensified, but the underlying rage remains unaddressed. Ryan cannot settle anywhere for long. He jumps from school to school, SMA Negeri 1, Jombang, then SMA Kabu, where he lasts just 1 semester, then SMA Negeri 3, where he stays barely a month. He is restless, troubled, and deeply angry. Eventually, he decides to leave Jombang altogether. He runs away to Jakarta, Indonesia's sprawling capital, hoping to escape his mother, his past, and the suffocating memories of his childhood home. But the past is already embedded inside him, and it will follow him everywhere he goes. In Jakarta, Ryan reinvents himself. He finds work as an aerobics instructor and quickly becomes popular in his local community. He is energetic, charismatic, and sociable. At various times, he claims to have worked as a male model and even as a teacher of Quran recitation. Whether these claims are entirely true is unclear, but they help him build a certain image of respectability. He is also openly gay, which in conservative Indonesia remains heavily stigmatized. Most of his social circle consists of other gay men, and it is within this community that he will eventually find most of his victims. Ryan lives a double life. On the surface, he is the friendly instructor, the talented dancer, the charming young man who always has a smile. But privately, he is nursing deep resentments, unresolved childhood trauma, and an explosive temper that can be triggered without warning. Between 2006 and 2008, Ryan travels frequently between Jakarta, Surabaya, and his parents' home in Jombang. The family house, where he experienced so much pain as a child, becomes a place he uses for something far darker. He begins bringing men back to that house, men he knows personally, men who trust him, and one by one they disappear. According to later investigations, the first confirmed victim may have been killed as early as 2006. This man's identity is never established. Ryan himself will later admit that he does not even remember the victim's name. The nameless man's remains will eventually be found in the backyard, buried and forgotten. In July 2007, Ryan kills someone whose identity is documented. 27-year-old Guru Setio Pramono, known to friends as Guntur. Ryan invites him to the family home in Jatirwates under the guise of a friendly visit. Guntur has no reason to suspect anything. In the backyard, Ryan strikes Guntur on the head with a heavy, blunt object. Guntur dies almost immediately. Ryan wraps the body in a mattress and sets it on fire to destroy evidence. Once the flames die down, he pushes the charred remains into an old dried-up fish pond and covers everything with soil. Then he waits. Days pass, weeks pass. No police come knocking. No investigators show up asking questions. At first, Ryan is afraid, but when nothing happens, fear transforms into confidence. He realizes he can get away with it. And so, he kills again. Over the next year, more men vanish after spending time with Ryan. Most of them are gay men from Jakarta or Surabaya. They meet Ryan through mutual friends, at social gatherings, or through casual introductions. He is charming and persuasive, and many of them accept his invitations to visit his family home in Jombang. In his later autobiography, Ryan describes several of these men in bitter, accusatory terms. He writes that they tried to use his homosexuality to satisfy their own desires, treating him as if he were nothing more than an object. He singles out two men named Zaki and Aksone. According to Ryan, these two did not just proposition him, they groped his genitals and pressured him aggressively to have sex with them. Zaki and Aksone did not only strike me with hurtful words, but their hands groped my vital organ so that I would date them, Ryan writes. I hated their acts, especially when my homosexuality was used as a reason for them to satisfy their lust. Both Zaki and Aksone are murdered. Their bodies are buried in the backyard alongside Guntur. Ryan describes another group of 4 men who came to his house and, according to him, attempted to coerce him into sexual situations. An argument breaks out. The confrontation escalates into physical violence. Ryan kills all 4 of them and buries their bodies on the property. Over time, the list of victims grows. Vincentius Udi Priono, 31 years old. Grady, or Grady, Gland Adam, 30. Agustinus Fitri Setiawan, 28. Mohammed Zainal Abedin, 27. Mohammed Aksone, 28. Mohammed Asrori, age unknown. All of these men disappear between 2006 and 2008. All of them knew Ryan personally. All of them were last seen in his company. To their families, they simply vanish without a trace. No phone calls, no messages, just silence. Ryan's methods are consistent. He lures them to the house in Jatirwates, often under the pretense of renovation work or social visits. Once they are isolated, he attacks. Most victims are struck on the head with an iron bar or similar blunt weapon, then stabbed multiple times to ensure death. After they are dead, he buries them in the backyard, sometimes in shallow graves, sometimes in the dried fish pond. For Ryan, this backyard becomes a graveyard of his own making. And still, no one notices. Not all of Ryan's victims are adult men. One of the most horrifying aspects of this case involves a woman and her small daughter. 28-year-old Nanak Kristanti comes to visit Ryan at some point during this period, bringing along her 3-year-old daughter, Sylvia Ramadani. According to Ryan's own account, Nanak attempts to seduce him. Given Ryan's deeply rooted hatred of women, stemming from his traumatic experiences with his mother, Nanak's advances trigger explosive rage. In a sudden, violent outburst, Ryan grabs an iron bar and strikes Nanak repeatedly on the head until she is dead. Little Sylvia witnesses the entire attack. She is a 3-year-old child standing in a room where her mother has just been beaten to death. Ryan cannot afford to leave a witness alive. With the same brutal force, he turns on the child and kills her. Both bodies, mother and daughter, are buried together in the backyard. When police eventually excavate the site, they will find Nanak's remains alongside Sylvia's tiny skeleton. This double murder represents one of the darkest moments in Ryan's killing spree. A defenseless woman and an innocent child, murdered in cold blood and buried like refuse behind a family home. By mid-2008, the backyard of Ryan's parents' house contains the remains of at least 10 people. Some have been there for over a year, their bodies reduced to skeletons. Others are more recent. Ryan continues to move freely between Jakarta and Jombang, maintaining his public persona as a friendly aerobics instructor. He laughs, he dances, he smiles. No one suspects the horrors buried just meters away from where his parents live. But his luck is about to run out. April 2008. 34-year-old Ariel Sitanggang is a real estate agent living in Jakarta. Before leaving home one day, he tells his mother, Tiarman, that he is going to Surabaya with a friend named Ryan. They are planning to do some renovation work on Ryan's house, he explains. It seems like a routine trip. Ariel is in good spirits. There is no indication of danger. Ariel never comes home. Days turn into weeks. His mother waits. She tries calling. No answer. Friends and relatives hear nothing. In May 2008, Ariel's family files a missing person report with the police. They provide investigators with the name of the man Ariel was last seen with, Ryan. Police bring Ryan in for questioning. He denies any knowledge of Ariel's disappearance. There is no physical evidence linking him to the case. No body, no proof. Investigators have no choice but to let him go. Ryan walks free. What police do not know is that Ariel's body is already buried in the backyard of Ryan's family home in Jombang, lying among the other victims. Ariel's mother will spend months hoping her son is still alive somewhere, but he has been dead since April. Ryan has successfully evaded capture once again, and within weeks he will kill for the 11th and final time. July 11th, 2008. After months of no contact, Ryan suddenly reaches out to 40-year-old sales manager Harry Santoso. He invites Harry to his rented apartment on Margonda Raya Street in Depok, a city just south of Jakarta. Before Harry arrives, Ryan makes careful preparations. He borrows a knife from the cafeteria in the Margonda residence apartment complex where he is staying. He also procures a 51-centimeter iron bar. Both weapons are placed inside the apartment, ready to be used. Later, prosecutors will point to these preparations as clear evidence of premeditation. When Harry arrives at the apartment, the atmosphere quickly turns tense. According to Ryan's own account, Harry makes an offer: money and a car in exchange for having sex with Ryan's boyfriend, Novel Andriansia. For Ryan, this is the ultimate insult. It triggers the same explosive jealousy and rage that have defined so many of his previous killings. "I cannot clearly explain how it happened," Ryan will later write from his prison cell. "I was furious and jealous. I only realized he was dead after I saw cut-up pieces of his flesh on my lap. The blood, the bad smell." Ryan grabs the iron bar and strikes Harry on the head with devastating force. The 51-centimeter bar penetrates Harry's skull. Then Ryan stabs him repeatedly with the knife. Harry dies in the apartment. What happens next is methodical and chilling. Ryan drags the body and begins to dismember it. He cuts Harry's corpse into 7 pieces. The apartment floor is drenched in blood. When I regained consciousness, the red color I saw was a pool of blood, and the pieces of meat around me were parts of a human body, he writes. Suddenly, I was overwhelmed by incredible fear. All I wanted was to get rid of him. Ryan packs the 7 pieces of Harry's body into a suitcase and a plastic travel bag. He also steals Harry's possessions, his car, his credit and bank cards, his mobile phone, and his laptop. On July 12, 2008, Ryan drives to South Jakarta and dumps the bags containing Harry's dismembered body near Ragunan Zoo. He abandons them on the roadside, leaving them to be discovered by road workers the following morning. Then Ryan makes the fatal mistake that will bring his entire killing spree to an end. Between July 12th and July 15th, 2008, Ryan uses Harry Santoso's stolen bank cards to withdraw cash from ATMs across Jakarta. In total, he takes out 3,000 and 40,000 rupiah, roughly equivalent to several hundred US dollars. He uses the money to go shopping, buy a new mobile phone for himself, and generally enjoy himself. For a few days, he lives as if nothing has happened. But modern banking systems keep records, and security cameras are everywhere. Police investigating Harry's murder quickly identify unusual activity on the victim's bank account. They request CCTV footage from the ATMs where the withdrawals were made. On the recordings, they see a man using Harry's card. Facial recognition and cross-referencing with existing databases lead investigators to a name, Idham Henyansyah, also known as Ryan, 30 years old. On July 15, 2008, police move quickly. They trace Ryan to his rented room in the Pesona Kayangan residential complex in Depok. Officers surround the location and move in to make the arrest. Ryan is taken into custody along with his boyfriend, Novel Andriansia. Both are brought to the Jakarta Metro Police Headquarters for interrogation. Under questioning, Ryan does not deny his involvement. In fact, he quickly confesses to killing Harry Santoso. He describes the jealousy, the rage, the iron bar, the dismemberment. He admits to dumping the body parts near Ragunan Zoo. Police believe they have solved a brutal murder case, but they do not yet realize the full scale of what they are dealing with. As news of Ryan's arrest spreads through Indonesian media, families of missing men begin to come forward. They all have one thing in common. Their loved ones were last seen with a man named Ryan. Investigators quickly connect Ryan to the unresolved disappearance of Ariel Sitanggang, the real estate agent who vanished in April. They decide to take Ryan back to his hometown, back to Jombang, back to his parents' house, back to the backyard. July 21st, 2008. A convoy of police vehicles arrives in the village of Jatirwates, Jombang. Officers bring Ryan to his parents' modest home on Jalan Melati. News spreads rapidly through the village. Hundreds of curious locals gather outside the house, crowding the narrow streets. They have heard rumors about the arrest. They want to see what happens next. Ryan, still in police custody, is led into the backyard. He begins pointing out specific locations. He shows investigators where to dig. Officers start excavating near the kitchen door. Within hours, they uncover skeletal remains. Then more remains, and more. One burial site contains the bodies of a woman and a small child, along with male remains. The woman is later identified as Nanik Kristanti. The child is her 3-year-old daughter, Sylvia Ramadani. Sylvia's tiny skull shows clear signs of blunt force trauma. About 5 meters away, beneath a cluster of bamboo trees, police find another shallow grave containing more human remains. The excavation continues throughout the day and into the following days. The entire backyard is systematically searched. The old dried fish pond is dug up. Every suspicious patch of soil is examined. In total, police exhumed the remains of 10 individuals from Ryan's family property. Among the identified victims, the unidentified male believed killed around 2006. Guru Guntur Setio Pramono, 27, the first documented victim from July 2007. Ariel Sitanggang, 34, the real estate agent who vanished in April 2008. Vincentius Yudi Priono, 31, Grady, or Grady, Gland Adam, 30. Agustinus Fitri Setiawan, 28. Muhammad Zainul Abidin, 27. Muhammad Aksone, 28. Muhammad Asrori, Nanik Kristanti, 28, and her daughter, Sylvia Ramadani, 3. All of them were killed between 2006 and mid-2008. All of them were buried just meters from where Ryan's parents slept every night. With the dismembered body of Harry Santoso in Jakarta, the confirmed total reaches 11 victims. For days, the house in Jatirwates is surrounded by villagers, journalists, and camera crews. They watch as forensic teams carefully remove bones, skulls, and decomposed remains from the ground. The images are broadcast across Indonesia, shocking the entire nation. Ryan, throughout the excavation, remains eerily calm. He shows detectives where to dig, pointing casually at spots where he buried his victims. He smiles for the cameras. He poses when photographers ask. To many watching, his behavior seems less like that of a remorseful killer and more like that of a man enjoying his newfound fame. Even while in custody, Ryan and his boyfriend Novel maintain an openly affectionate relationship. According to police officers at the East Java Police Headquarters, the two are frequently seen embracing and kissing whenever they are allowed to meet. One officer describes witnessing Ryan and Novel kiss for approximately 5 minutes straight during one of their meetings at the station. Ryan, the butcher of 11 people under threat of the death penalty, continues to be affectionate with his lover, the officer notes. Every time they are brought together, the two of them always kiss, not half-heartedly, for 5 minutes. This public display of affection, combined with Ryan's seemingly carefree demeanor, deepens the public's perception of him as a cold, remorseless individual who feels no guilt for his actions. Noble himself is eventually cleared of direct involvement in the murders, though he was present during some events and arrested alongside Ryan. Ryan killed alone. Noble was his boyfriend, not his accomplice. Late 2008, Depok District Court, West Java. Very Idham Henyansyah is brought to trial for the murder of Harry Santoso. He arrives dressed in a white embroidered Muslim shirt, a skull cap, and a green scarf. An attempt, perhaps, to project an image of piety. But the moment he enters the courtroom, Ryan's behavior tells a different story. He smiles broadly as he walks in. He poses for the assembled press photographers. He seems to be enjoying the attention, the spectacle, the cameras. During early hearings, Ryan is seen wiping tears from his eyes several times. To some observers, this might suggest remorse, but prosecutors and judges are not convinced. His tears seem performative, inconsistent with his otherwise cheerful demeanor. Prosecutor Budi Hartawan Panjaitan presents the case methodically and forcefully. He describes Ryan's crime as sadistic and merciless. He emphasizes that Ryan was fully conscious and aware when he killed Harry, that he was not hallucinating or acting out of temporary insanity. He was fully aware and not hallucinating when he committed the murder and is not remorseful, Panjaitan tells the court. The prosecution lays out evidence of premeditation. Ryan borrowed a knife from the cafeteria of the Margonda residence apartment complex before Harry arrived. He also prepared a 51-centimeter iron bar. Both weapons were ready and waiting inside the apartment when Harry walked in. Ryan was ready with a knife and a 51-centimeter long metal bar before the victim arrived at the house, Panjaitan argues. Also, there was Ryan's sudden need to meet Harry after not being in contact with him for some time. After the murder, Ryan stole Harry's car, credit cards, bank cards, mobile phone, and laptop. He dismembered the body into 7 pieces, packed them into luggage, and dumped them on a Jakarta roadside. Then he spent 3 days using Harry's bank cards to withdraw money and go shopping. He cut the body into 7 parts, stuffed them into a suitcase and a plastic travel bag, and threw them away, the prosecutor states. Panjaitan also references Ryan's confession to the 10 additional murders in Jombang. There was some fear after each killing, but when nobody would find out, he would do it again and again, he tells the court. He is not a psychopath. He knew what he was doing and knew the consequences. He wanted Harry Santoso to die, and he planned for it. The prosecution requests the death penalty. Ryan's defense lawyer, Kasman Sangaji, attempts to challenge the charge of premeditation. This is a fatal error, Sangaji argues. The prosecutors made this claim based on assumptions and public opinion. But the evidence is overwhelming. Meanwhile, Ryan's own father tells reporters that he believes his son is insane and should not be executed. He is insane, so he should not be sentenced to death, his father says. I'd never gone near him. I'd been slapped before. The statement reveals a household where violence was not uncommon. One odd detail emerges during the trial that highlights Ryan's bizarre celebrity status. 4 high school interns attending the trial take pictures of Ryan with their phone cameras. When asked why, one of them, a girl named Nur Hassana, says, "We know he is a murderer, but he is handsome." Ryan has acquired what can only be described as a celebrity-like status in Indonesia, despite, or perhaps because of, the horrific nature of his crimes. April 6, 2009, The courtroom is packed as presiding Judge Suwidya prepares to read the verdict. The hearing starts several hours behind schedule, but eventually the judge takes his seat. Defendant Very Idham Henyansyah is found guilty of premeditated murder, Judge Suwidya declares. He continues, the defendant's crime was beyond cruelty. His acts were sadistic and inhuman and caused deep sadness to the victims' families and anxiety in the community. His acts show he does not value life, which is given by God. Judge Suwidya notes that the horrific nature of Ryan's crimes serves as an aggravating factor. He adds that Ryan continues to pose a threat to society. The judges were aware of the pros and cons of the death penalty, Suwidya explains, but the fact that he admitted in court to committing 11 murders, including those in the city of Jombang, East Java, strengthened our decision to hand down the death penalty. The sentence is death by firing squad. Ryan continues to smile as the verdict is read. His expression is described as cold, almost detached. When photographers begin snapping pictures of him and journalists start shouting questions, he seems to brighten even more. Everyone has to die and I'm ready, Ryan reportedly says, as he is led out of the courtroom. His lawyers immediately announce that they will file an appeal, but for the victims' families and the Indonesian public, the message is clear. The man who turned his parents' backyard into a mass grave will face execution. Prison does not end Ryan's desire for attention. If anything, it amplifies it. After his conviction, Ryan is transferred to Kasambi Prison in Cirebon, a high-security facility where death row inmates are held. From his cell, he begins to cultivate a new identity, not just a serial killer, but a celebrity serial killer. He writes an autobiography titled Confessions, The Untold Story of Ryan. In it, he provides detailed accounts of the 10 murders he committed in Jombang. The book contains graphic descriptions of how he killed his victims, what he felt during and after the murders, and his justifications for his actions. Prosecutors confirm that they use his written confessions as part of their ongoing investigations. In one chilling passage, Ryan describes the moment he regained awareness after killing Harry Santoso. When I regained consciousness, the red color I saw was a pool of blood, and the pieces of meat around me were parts of a human body, he writes. Suddenly, I was gripped with extraordinary fear. All I wanted to do was to get rid of him. In another section, he writes about the men he claims tried to exploit him. Most of the victims were gay men like me. They made me feel cheap. I got angry. We fought, and I accidentally killed them, he claims. Not all gay men are promiscuous. Love is very important to me. It makes me furious when people say there's no such thing as loyalty in the gay world. Whether these justifications reflect genuine feelings or are simply attempts to manipulate public perception is unclear. But Ryan does not stop with the book. He announces plans to record a pop music album consisting of 12 songs. The album will be called My Last Performance. He intends to record it from inside his death row cell. He sings for prison guards, fellow inmates, and visiting journalists. The Indonesian media eagerly covers his musical ambitions, and he becomes known nationwide as the singing serial killer. In October 2010, Ryan makes yet another headline-grabbing announcement. He declares that he plans to marry Eni Wijaya, a woman who is also a convicted criminal, a drug dealer serving time in prison. The two met in 2008 when both were detained at the Jakarta Police Narcotics Detention Center. The announcement is shocking to many, given that Ryan has been openly gay throughout his life, and that almost all of his victims were male. Whether the marriage plan is genuine or simply another publicity stunt is unclear, but it keeps Ryan's name in the news. While Ryan cultivates his public image, the families of his victims continue to live with profound loss. Ariel Sitanggang's mother, Tiarman, waited months for her son to come home, only to learn that he had been buried in a backyard in Jombang. The families of other victims face similar grief. Their loved ones went to visit a friend and never returned. For them, Ryan's singing and his book deal are not entertainment. They are fresh wounds that never fully heal. More than 15 years pass after Ryan's death sentence is handed down. As of 2026, he remains in prison, still waiting for his execution to be carried out. Indonesian media periodically revisit the case, asking the same question: when will Ryan from Jombang finally face the firing squad? Each time, the answer is the same: not yet. There are many reasons for the delay. Indonesia's judicial system moves slowly, especially in death penalty cases. Appeals can drag on for years. Legal challenges can further delay executions. In some cases, death row inmates wait decades before their sentences are carried out, or never face execution at all. In August 2021, Ryan's name returns to the headlines for a different reason. At a special Class 2A prison in Gunung Sindur, well-known Islamic preacher Bahar bin Smith physically assaults Ryan during a dispute. The incident draws fresh public attention to the fact that Indonesia's most infamous serial killer is still alive behind bars. Some members of the public express frustration that Ryan has not yet been executed, especially given the brutality of his crimes and the number of victims. Others point to broader debates about the death penalty, its effectiveness, and its moral implications. By 2026, Ryan is 48 years old. He has spent nearly 18 years on death row. For the families of his 11 confirmed victims, the wait for final justice has stretched into nearly 2 decades. Some relatives have expressed a desire for closure. Others have publicly stated that they want Ryan to face execution so that their loved ones can finally rest in peace. But the wheels of justice turn slowly, and the final chapter of this case remains unwritten. The case of very Idham Henyansyah stands as one of Indonesia's most shocking and widely publicized serial murder cases. The elements that define it are unforgettable: premeditated killings, brutal dismemberment, bodies buried in a family backyard, a 3-year-old girl beaten to death, and a killer who sings pop songs from his death row cell. Behind the sensational media label of the singing serial killer lies a pattern of extreme violence rooted in a deeply broken childhood, unresolved trauma, and a complete absence of empathy for his victims. 11 lives were taken between 2006 and 2008. Most were men who knew Ryan personally and trusted him. One was an innocent child who had the misfortune of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Ryan's case also highlights broader issues within Indonesian society and its criminal justice system. Questions about the treatment of marginalized communities, including LGBT individuals, have been raised in the context of this case. Some observers note that many of Ryan's victims were gay men who may have been reluctant to fully disclose their identities or relationships, potentially delaying investigations. The case also raises questions about mental health and childhood trauma. Ryan's violent upbringing, his mother's abuse, his early psychiatric hospitalization, all of these factors shaped the man he became. Yet none of these factors excuse or justify the horrors he inflicted on his victims. Today, Ryan remains in a prison cell, his voice and his smile no longer able to hide the graves he left behind. The backyard in Jatirwates has been excavated and the bodies removed, but the memory of what happened there remains. The families of the victims continue to live with the permanent absence of their loved ones. Mothers who will never see their sons again, siblings who lost brothers, a small child who never had the chance to grow up, and somewhere in a prison in Indonesia, a man who once called himself the singing serial killer waits to see if his death sentence will ever be carried out. 11 victims, 11 lives, 11 graves in a backyard in Jombang. This is the legacy of very Idham Henyansyah,